You're watching Al Jazeera. Time to recap the headlines. More than 2,000 people have been killed in Morocco in the worst earthquake to hit the country in more than 100 years. The magnitude 6.8 tremor struck late on Friday night. A major search and rescue operation is continuing. Troops and emergency services have scrambled to reach remote mountain villages where people are still feared trapped. Meanwhile, people in Morocco continue to experience fear in the aftermath of the quake. Many victims have been sleeping on the streets after the government warned them against returning to their homes. Our diplomatic editor, James Bays, is at the G20 summit in New Delhi, where leaders have expressed their condolences to the people of Morocco. We can join him there now. And so, James, the earthquake in Morocco casting a shadow over the gathering there.
Yeah, absolutely. Many of the leaders have spoken about what has happened in Morocco and sent their condolences to the people and to the King of Morocco at this time. Of course, there's plenty else going on in the G20, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But I'm joined by the spokesperson for the UN Secretary-General, Stéphane Dujarric, right now. Stéphane, let's start with Morocco. What are the comments from the Secretary-General on what's happened, and what's the UN going to do?
First of all, the Secretary-General was extremely saddened to learn of the news. He spoke to the ambassador of Morocco immediately, transmitting his condolences to the King and the people of Morocco. We have a large team already that had been on the ground doing development work. At their request, we've sent a disaster assessment team, which should be arriving shortly. And we're, of course, on standby, waiting if the Moroccan authorities require international help, in which case we have people and teams on standby ready to go. But we will do whatever we can to assist the people of Morocco in this terrible, terrible tragedy.
Let's turn to the G20 summit here. The Secretary-General, when I spoke to him just a few days ago, said that there needed to be some big changes in the global financial system and also particularly on global debt. He was very worried about the poorest countries in the world being in a development crisis. You've now had the final declaration. Is the UN happy?
Well, I mean, the Secretary-General is not in the business of giving pass-fail notes to documents that come out of different groupings. I think what we've seen is a spirit of compromise. I mean, as you know, there was a lot of chatter that there wouldn't even be a statement. We're very pleased to see in that statement references to the Sustainable Development Goals, the Secretary-General's push for a special fund to enhance our work on the Sustainable Development Goals. But his message really to the G20, as it was to ASEAN, as it will be the G77 and to the countries in the North, is more action, more ambition and more political will on climate, on development, and a host of number of challenges that we're facing today.
The aid agency Oxfam said it was uninspiring and underwhelming and skates over the big issues of poverty, inequality and climate. I mean, you can make criticisms that there are words in there, but there's no concrete action and there's no concrete timelines.
Well, again, we're not going to do a line-by-line analysis. I think it's a testament to the leadership of the G20 and to its members that they agreed on a text that has a number of very important points. We've had over the last few weeks a number of different groupings meet in different parts of the world. The point is that in about a week or so, they will all be coming to New York. The UN, let's remember, is the only grouping where 193 member states sit at the same table. And what we want to see during this General Assembly is strong ambition and strong action on all of the issues that we're facing today.
Let me raise the other huge issue the Secretary-General always raises, which you just touched on, which is climate.
Right.
He's made it clear that he thinks the G20 have really the most important role to play, that they are the biggest emitters. And we're heading towards not just the UN General Assembly, also the next COP meeting that is taking place in Dubai. Is he convinced that these countries are really doing enough here, given that they are the ones that have the key to solving the problem?
I think everybody, and especially the world's largest emitters, can do more and need to do a lot more.
Stéphane Dujarric, spokesperson for the UN Secretary-General, thank you very much for joining us here on Al Jazeera. The G20 summit continues. We have the leaders arriving where they are going to a memorial to Gandhi at the moment, and then they're coming back here for the final session. The US President Joe Biden is missing that final session. He'll be flying in about an hour's time for his next visit. He's going to Vietnam for a visit. Vietnam, increasingly an important US ally, the US trying to get Vietnam very much in the US camp with regard to the rivalry between the US and China. Sammy.
All right, thanks so much, James Bays.